Okay, nasai. And welcome back to another Nihongo video. So, today we finally reached lesson 7, the lesson I'm on right now, guys. So, I'm going to teach you guys everything there is to know about this new grammar point in conjugation form. It is the same thing as te, but we're going to be transforming it into iru, which means the use of animate things. So, just a warning before we actually get into the video. It is storming really hard out here. Hoping you guys are, inside. Your family's doing safe. You're doing well. And I wish everybody the best in this storm. I don't know where you're from, but I just wish the best for you. My best regards to you. If you guys have thunder or lightning or anything else, I'm very sorry because it is lightning out here and everything, and it's very bad out here. So, with that being said, if you don't have your Genki book already, go ahead and grab your Genki book. And if you don't have your Genki book, don't worry, I'm going to be showing you guys the pictures as we go on. So, starting from lesson all the way to lesson 7. So, we're going to start with the story. Family picture. Dialogue. Kaiwa. Sora is showing a picture of her family to her roommate, Yui. So, Yui says, これはソラさんの家族の写真ですか? And Sora says, Yui says, ソラさんはどれですか? Sora says, これです。高校の時はメガネをかけていました。And now Yui says, かわいいですね。Sora says, これは父です。ニューヨークの会社で働いています。So, Yui, we have Sega Takute. My bad, guys. I'm gonna explain what kute means in a minute. かっこいいですね。これは姉さんですか? Sora says, 姉は派遣しています。今、スアールに住んでいます。子供が一人います。3歳です。Yui says, そうですか。あ、猫がいますね。ちょっと太っていますね。Sora says, よく食べますから。So, first story reads as follows. Is this your family picture, Sora? Sora says, yes. Yui, which is you? Yui, which is you? Sora says, this. I was wearing glasses when I was in high school. Yui says, you are cute. And Sora says, this is my father. He works at a company in New York. Yui says, he is tall and good looking. Is this your older sister? Sora says, yes. And my sister is married. She lives in Seattle now. She has one child. He is 3 years old. Sansai. Yui says, I see. Oh, there's a cat. He is a little fat. Sora says, よく食べますから. Yes, because he eats a lot. Second story, Yui's phone rings. So Robert calls Yui. もしもし、Yui さん、今何をしていますか? Yui says, 別に何もしていません。今、ソラさんの写真を見ています。Robert says, そうですか。昨日美味しいコーヒーを買いました。よかったら飲みに来ますか? いいですね。ソラさんも一緒に行ってもいいですか? Robert says, もちろん。Yui says, じゃあ、すごくます。So, second story reads as follows. Robert, hello. Yui, what are you doing now? Yui says, I'm not doing anything especially. I am looking at Sora's pictures. Robert says, I see. I bought some delicious coffee yesterday. Won't you come to drink it if you like? Yui says, that sounds good. Is it alright if Sora comes with? Robert says, of course. Yui says, we'll come right away. Now, for the vocabulary. So, tango, vocabulary. We're going to get into nouns first. But first, I'm going to show you guys. Of course, I'm going to show you guys the story. The dialogue right here. Make sure you guys can see it. So, now we're going to move on to the vocabulary. So, we have family in Japanese. Kazoku. grandfather or old man, oji-san, grandmother, old woman, oba-san, older brother, oni-san, older sister, one-san, my father in particular, chichi, my mother in particular, wawa, my older sister, one, my older brother, ani, younger sister, imoto, younger brother, ototo, brothers and sisters, kyodai, man, otoko no hito, or you could say otoko, woman, ona no hito, or you could say ona, company, kaisha, cafeteria or dining comms, sokudo, department store, depato, hair, kami, mouth, kuchi, eye, me, glasses, megane, song, uta, club activity, sakuru, car, kuruma. Now we're getting into some more E adjectives. I'm going to show you guys the nouns first. Those are the nouns. For some E adjectives, long, nagai, short in length, mijikai, fast, hayai, tall in stature, sega takai, short in stature, sega hikui, bright, smart, or clever. Atama ga ii, and the E last end part conjugates as E, which means yokunai, not good. Atama ga yokunai, not smart. So, na adjectives, I'm going to show you guys the E adjectives. Down right there. Now we're going to get into the na adjectives. There are two na adjectives, kind and kindness, which is shinsetsu. This is a na adjective. Shinsetsu na. Convenient. Besuni. Beneri, not to be confused with besuni, because besuni is a negative. So, besuni, convenient. We have some u verbs, as I'll show you guys. These two na verbs. Not adjectives. Now we have u verbs. To sing, utau. To put on a hat, kaburu. To put on items below your waist, haku. To get to know, shiru. I know, shiteimasu. I do not know, shirimasen. To live, sumu. And we have a little example. It says sumu ni sundeimasu. To work, hataraku. To gain weight, futoru. To be on the heavy side, fututeimasu. I'm going to show you guys the u verbs now. U verbs. Now we're getting into some u verbs. To put on, glasses wise, we have megane o kakeru. To put on glasses. To put on clothes above your waist is kiru. To lose weight, yaseru. To be thin, yaseteimasu. Irregular verb is to get married. So we have kekkon suru. Suru, the end part is irregular. Kekkon shite. So, adverbs and other expressions, we have ... but, ga, which is more natural. Nanimo plus a negative. That verb negative would be nai or masen. Nanimo nai, nanimasen. Nanimo masen, nanimo nai. Now, for counter for people, is nen. I'm going to get an counter for people later on in the video. One person, hitori. Two people, futari. Nothing in particular. Besuni plus negative. Just like for nanimo, besuni nai, besuni masen. Of course, mochiron, if you like. Yokattara. Now, for the part you've all been waiting for. Heiru. This is another grammar point. We're going to be using this to change our sentences around and describing a result of a change in the action in progress. So, heiru in action in progress. I'm going to read it straight from the book for you guys. In this lesson, we will learn to use verb test forms together with the helping verb iru. To understand what such a sentence means, we will need to understand the semiotics of Japanese verbs. Japanese verbs can be classified into the following three types. 1. Verbs that describe activities that last for some time, etc. Haberu or yomu, which means to eat or to read. Number 2. Verbs that describe changes that are more or less instantaneous, which is shine, which means to die, and okiru, which means to wake or to get up. And number 3, are verbs that describe continuous states, which means aru or iru. You can use verbs in the first group, such as taberu and yomu, in their te form with the helping verb of iru to describe actions and progress. We will discuss the verbs of the second type in the following section. The third type, which describes states, does not go with teiru. You do not use this for aru or iru. In general, activity verbs teiru equals action and progress. We have an example right here. Sora is studying right now. Sora-san wa ima benkyou shite imasu. Takashi is reading a book in English. Takashi-san wa eigo no hon o yonde imasu. What are you doing right now? Ima nani o shite imasu ka? You can also use teimasu sentence to describe what a person does by occupation or by a habit. The first example below, therefore, has two possible interpretations. You are actually teaching English right at this moment, or you are an English language teacher, but are not especially in class right now. That is in parentheses. The second example means that Mary is in the habit of studying Japanese. Hence, Mary-san wa ima benkyou shite imasu. But of course she does not spend 24 hours a day doing so, which is correct. I'm going to show you guys that now. That is very important for you guys to know. Hopefully you guys can really see that. Now we're going to read this part right here. That part, everything in this part is really important. Among the verbs we have learned so far, verbs such as okiru, iku, kaeru, kuru, wakaru, dekakeru, noru, suwaru, shine, osureru, kariru, motte kuru, surete kuru, kekkon suru, futoru, yaseru, kiru are change verbs. In most cases, you can determine whether a verb is in the activity class or a change class by checking if the verb allows for a phrase describing duration, such as ichijikan. Compare, for example, I read a book for an hour yesterday. Watashi wa kino ichijikan hon o yomimashita. And this is the wrong version of it. We have Watashi wa ichijikan shinimashita. I died for an hour, which is a little odd because shine would be in the state category. It would be in the change class. So now we have yomu. Thus is an activity verb because you're reading, you're doing an activity. That activity will be reading. And shine is a change verb because you're in a state of being dead, right? The distinction between iru and aru that we learned in lesson 4 does not apply to this helping verb teiru. You can use teiru for both living things or inanimate things. I'm gonna read that again. You can use teiru both for living things and for inanimate objects. I teach English. I am an English teacher. We have an example right here. Watashi wa eigo o oshiete imasu. Now we have another translation right here. Meri-san wa mainichi nihongo o benkyou shite imasu. Mary studies Japanese every day. The helping verb iru conjugates as a ru verb. Thus, we have long forms as in the following. So we have tabeteiru, that's the dictionary form for teiru. Now we have the present affirmative, tabeteimasu, he is eating. The negative, tabeteimasen. Past, tabeteimashita, he was eating. Now the negative past tense, tabeteimasen deshita, he was not eating. I'm going to show you guys that example right there. Hopefully you guys can see that. Teiru, result of a change. Now, verbs in the second group. I'm gonna read you guys verbs in the second group again, just in case you missed it. Verbs that describe changes that are more or less instantaneous, etc. An example, shine or okiru. So now, teiru, result of a change. Verbs in the second group, discussed in the previous section, describe changes from one state to another. If you get married or kekkon suru, for example, your status changes from being single to being married. With these verbs, teiru describes the result of a change. A change took place in the past and its significance still remains until this present moment. So, change verbs, teiru equals a result in change. Now, teiru for result of change is for the second state. These are for state changing verbs. Number one, teiru action in progress is for the first activity verbs. Do not get these two mixed up. You cannot use these two in the same thing, right? So, Professor Yamashita is married. I'm going to read it for you guys. Yamashita sensei wa kekkon shite imasu. State result from being married. So now we have Yui. Yui is seated near the window. So we have Yui-san wa mado no chikaku ni suwatte imasu. So Yui is seated near the window. State resulting from seating herself there. A state result in seating herself. Here are some more examples of verbs that are commonly used in the teiru framework. So we have mosu, and then we have moteiru, which means has. So an example right here, Sora has a lot of money, right? So we would say Sora-san wa okane o takusan motte imasu. Now for the expression I'm going to show you guys. In lesson 9, we will observe that this result of a change reading is actually not restricted to change verbs, but can be associated with activity verbs and context. In certain contexts, excuse me. Note that the sentence does not mean Professor Yamashita is getting married, because if he's getting married, then that means he's in the process of getting married. An action in progress, which is not true because kekkon shite imasu is a state of being. He's married. So it will be a resulting change. Now, over here, after I show you guys this right here. Show you guys all of this right here. It's very important. Hopefully I showed you guys, I believe I showed you guys the right one. So now we have this. Shiru, dictionary form of to know. To get to know. Shiteiru, knows. Now we have an example. Professor Yamashita knows my mother. Yamashita sensei wa haha o shite imasu. Yamashita sensei knows my mother. Futoru, meaning to gain weight. Futoteiru is overweight. We have a little example right here. Tom is a little overweight. Tonu-san wa chouto futotte imasu. Yaseru, to be thin. Yaseteiru is thin. My younger brother is very thin. Watashi no ototo wa totemo yasete imasu. Kiru means to wear something above your waist. Kiteiru, wears. So Mary is wearing or wears a t-shirt. Meri-san wa T-shirtsu o kite imasu. Dad is up and awake. Okiru, to be awake or to get up. Okiteiru is awake. Otou-san wa okite imasu. My family lives in Tokyo. Sumu, to reside or to live somewhere. Sundeiru, my family lives in Tokyo. Kazoku wa Kyoto. Tokyo. Oh, Tokyo. I said Tokyo. I said Kyoto. Tokyo ni sunde imasu. Now, I'm going to show you guys that right there. Note that the verbs like iku and kuru belong to the change class, which is the second one. Thus, iteiru and kiteiru indicate the result of prior movements, not movements that are currently in progress. You may want to be careful with what the following sentences mean. So we have an example right here. Somebody has gone to or is in China. So, Chogoku ni ite imasu. Somebody has come over to visit, or somebody is coming over. We have uchi ni kite imasu. You can simply use the present tense and say Meri-san wa kimasu. For example, if you want to say that Mary is coming, not that somebody is coming over to visit. If you want to say someone's coming in general, you use kimasu. You use the normal version. So, because the present tense in Japanese refers both to the present and to the future, only it changes when it's the past. So we have 3 right here. Miri-san wa kami ga nagai desu. To describe somebody who has long hair, one could say Tomo-san no kami wa nagai desu. Tom's hair is long. Or you could say, but in fact, it would be far more natural in Japanese to say ga, which means but. So Tom has long hair. Or as in Tom, he has long hair. Tomo-san wa kami ga nagai desu. And then we have right here a little expression of the negation of shiteimasu is shirimasen without the teiru formation. Over here, we have this applies not only to discussion of the length of one's hair, but to descriptions of person's physical attributes in general. See the parts of the body section at the end of this lesson for the name of body parts. So, A, san, wa, me, eye, kami, hair, te, hand, ashi, hand, I believe. Ga, oki, big. Ga, chisai, small. Ga, kawaii. Person A has a body part which is, and in idiomatic correlations, we also have sega takai is tall, sega hikui is short, atama ga ii is bright or clever. So I'm gonna show you guys that right there. Before we get into the next part. Adjective, noun, text forms for joining sentences. Now I still kind of struggle with this a little bit myself in joining sentences with a normal text form anyway, but I'm gonna try my best to describe it to you guys as I'm reading it straight from the book. So in the last lesson, we discussed the use of verbal text forms to join sentences, e and na adjectives, and this after nouns also have text forms, which can be used to combine 2 elements to form longer sentences. The text form of an e adjective is formed by substituting kute for the final e, which means you remove a like nagai, so you say nagakute. The text form of a na adjective and a noun plus des sequence is formed by adding de to the base or the noun. I'm going to read this chart for you guys now. E adjectives, this irregular. Yasui transformed into yasukute. That's for e adjectives, irregular. E, it would be yokute. Now for na adjectives, noun plus des, it would be genki na transforms into genki de. Nihojin des transforms into nihojin de. So we have an example right here. The food at the restaurant is inexpensive and delicious. So we have ano mise no tabemono wa yasukute oishii desu. The hotel was clean and we were happy. Hoteru wa kirei de yokatta desu. Now we have Professor Yamashita is a Japanese, and he is a Japanese, and he is about 50 years old. When they say he is a Japanese, it means he's a Japanese person. It says Nihonjin. But I'm going to show you guys in a minute after I finish reading this sentence. Yamashita sensei wa Nihonjin de 50歳がぐらいです. Sit right there. I believe I didn't show you guys this up here either. So we're gonna flip the script. Now, verb stem plus ni iku. If a person moves to another place in order to do something, we can describe their movement and its purpose this way. First, the destination of movement, followed with the particle ni or et, which are goal of movements. Third is the purpose of movement, which will be the verb stem, followed by the particle ni, ended with the verb of iku, kuru, kaeru, iku, to go, kuru, to come, kaeru, to return. So the purpose of movement is a phrase consisting of a verb, its object, and so forth. Verbs describing the purpose of a movement must be in their stem forms. Stems are the part you get by removing mas from the verbs. Past tense long forms. Present tense long forms. My bad. Stems, taberu, we have taberu. Now we're gonna take ru off because you would say tabemasu because you're conjugating it into taberu, right? So you would say tabe. Yomu is yomimasu. You don't remove the mas, etc. So we have an example right here. I went to a department store to buy a bag. Departo ni kaban o kai ni kimashita. So you see what I did there? There's no kaimasu. We just use kai ni ikimashita. Up here, just like the purpose of the movement, kai ni ikimashita. メリーさんは日本語を勉強しに来ました。Mary has to come to study Japanese. I'm going to show you guys that right there. Now, for counting people in Japanese, the counter for people is nin, but one person and two people are irregular. It's hitori and futari. Now, hitori, futari. Now, remember, the counter is nin, just like you would count in Japanese. Normally, you replace nin behind it. So 3 people is 3 nin, 4 4nin, 5 nin, 6 nin, 7 nin or 7 nin, 8 nin, 9 nin, 10 nin, and so on and so on. To count people in a class, for example, you can add nin after the noun and the particle ga and say person ga X nin imasu. The reason why we're using inas because idu, is animate people, right? So there's one Indonesian student in our class. 私のクラスにはインドネシア人の学生が一人います。So, and a little expression note to end off the video for you guys. Asobu. So, asobu means to play, to spend time pleasantly, or to pay a social call. So, when I was a child, I often played with my friends. So, we have Heromo no, I'm going to read it slowly for you guys because this is kind of a lengthy sentence. So, Kodomo no toki, yoku tomodachi to asobimashita. When I was a child, I often played with my friends. We have a second sentence. I went to Tokyo to have fun last week. So we have Senshu no shumasu wa Tokyo ni asobi ni kimashita. Please come and see us. Watashi no uchi ni asobi ni kite kudasai. Note that to play, as used below, requires different words. Sports, to play tennis. Tennisu o suru. Games, to play games. Game o suru, to play cards. Toranpu o suru. Music, instruments, to play the guitar. Guitar o hiku. Now, shiru or wakaru. If you don't know the answer to a question but have thought about it, you should say wakarimasen instead of shirimasen. See lesson 4, dialogue 2, for example. Shirimasen in such a context will sound rude, implying that your ignorance on the matter is none of the inquiry's business. Another expression note to end off. You can also use some nouns like kaimono, shopping, for the purpose phrase, as in the departo ni kaimono ikimashita. I went to a department store shopping. Now, that'll be the end of the video because you guys already know, for practice, I make those videos of my own. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Honestly, this was a really great recording session. Despite it being raining in the first half, it kind of calmed down a bit. Thank you for staying. And make sure you guys, if you haven't done already, make sure you guys like and subscribe for more Japanese content. And I need a thumbnail because I never get a thumbnail when I'm doing these. What kind of, what kind of thumbnail you got? What kind of thumbnail you guys want this time? You know, just me got my nose and my butt just doing this. I'm so stupid. Ja, mata.